Hey everybody, I'm Jay Jones,
And I'm LT.
and we are the Dose Offensive Gentlemen. Now let's talk about some shit. Hey everybody, welcome back to DOG, and today we have a really interesting episode for you today. We have a twofer for Bartender Weekly because of our esteemed host decided to go traveling and brought back a plethora of treats.
A plethora. Yeah, so this past week, very interesting for me. Started off with a trip to Dublin for St. Patrick's Day. Spent the weekend there, and then a follow-on trip to The Hague in the Netherlands for work. But it was still very interesting. So with that, I brought back two drinks from Ireland. The first one we're going to go into is the Jameson Crested whiskey. And then we're going to follow it up with a Guinness lager. Yes, right, lager, not a stout. One that they actually introduced recently, which is called Hop House 13. So
we will be trying those out. I have never had a Hop House 13, so I'm really excited to try that.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be after the whiskey, so it'll definitely be delicious.
So for the whiskey, the Jameson Crested, okay, so obviously was in Dublin for St. Paddy's, and one of the things I did with the group I was with is we went to the Jameson distillery, and while there we did a lot of things, but one of the things that was a big takeaway for me was this Jameson Crested. So I've drunk a lot of Jameson over the years, and I've actually never had the Crested until I went to the distillery. So and I think I like it better than the original Jameson. I actually like it, and this is gonna hurt some of my friends' feelings, but I even like this better than Black Barrel.
Black Barrel, really?
Yeah.
So I've never really been a Jameson or really an Irish whiskey fan. When I got introduced to the Scotch whiskey, that's kind of where I really started liking it. And then once I tried Irish whiskey like Jameson, it just didn't get the same tones, the same kind of flavor palette.
Well, that's because they're different. So my whiskey went from Canadian blended whiskeys to bourbons to Irish whiskey and then to Scotch. But I still like Irish whiskey. So the biggest difference between those Irish whiskeys and Scotch is that whereas Scotch uses a lot of the peating in their production to get that smoky flavor, there is no peating in Irish whiskey. So it's straight, barleys and mash, no smoking.
Yeah,
that's going on.
So a little bit about the Jameson Crested. So according to the JamesonWhiskey.com, it is a celebration of the first drops bottled at Bow Street. Back in the day, it was common practice to sell Irish whiskey to bonders by the cask. Then it was left up to them to bottle it. In 1963, after some greedy bonders started to water down the whiskey to fill up their pockets, we took over full control of the process from grain to glass. Jameson Crested is the celebration of those first drops bottled back in Bow Street. Now, also on the website, it has a little bit of description about how it smells, how it tastes, and then the aftertaste. So on the nose, it should have a vivid sherry pot still aroma.
Yes, it does.
It does. We haven't even drank yet. Hold on, let me get through this.
I'm smelling
Wait
it.
for me. So then also on the tongue, the taste is a delicate sherry undertones and toasted wood with fruit, spice, and chocolate notes. And the finish is a warm, lingering sherry. Now, we need to drink this right now. Because now, my stomach's growling like sherry undertones, fruit, spice.
So we're going to go with this, and we're just going to keep it simple since we're going to be talking about Ireland. We're just going to do it with the Irish cheers, which is Solange.
Solange. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that way better than any Jameson I've ever had. That is delicious.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is my favorite Jameson now.
Yeah,
I always,
definitely.
I always knows that too. Every time I come, I was like, yeah, this is my favorite Scotch. This is my favorite. No, this is my favorite Jameson.
Yeah,
We only share with you the best. If we won't drink it, we don't expect you to drink it.
yeah, exactly.
Except for Palinka.
I mean, that was. I mean, it was.
So
I want to say something good about it.
Yeah, it was nothing good about that.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things we did, so when we went to the Jameson distillery, we took what was called the Maker's Tour. And in the Maker's Tour, they actually go through, from the whole distilling process all the way to the glass. And we actually had food pairings with it. And one of the foods they had to pair with this Jameson was chocolate. And so that is one of the reasons why I brought chocolate with us today. So
yes, we have the very fancy Ferrero Rocher. So when you hear so we have two things that are going on right now. Whenever you hear a clink in the glass, that means we're drinking, just like normal. But when you hear a wrinkly paper, that means we're also pairing it with some nice chocolates.
Some chocolates.
Yeah.
So the pairing was here to they actually had us eat the chocolate, sip the whiskey, eat the actually sip the whiskey, eat the chocolate, sip the whiskey again, and see if you had any new notes that came jumping out at you. So. Was it sort of change the flavor for you, or anything else jump?
It did. I'll tell you what, I was not expecting a pleasant taste. I knew I should have been, but past experience, Palenka, just really had me on edge.
Gunshot.
Yeah, pretty much. Shots fired. But no, paired with the chocolate, it's fantastic. And it's really difficult to do a whiskey tasting with actual food, though. I feel like you can't really always enjoy it. It kind of contaminates it.
So, like I said, during the Maker's Tour, and I used to think that too. But since we had several foods, because they actually had the chocolate, we had the sorbet, we had the citrus sorbet that helped bring out the citrus notes and a lot of things too. So I'm fully on front trying to see if we could do a full on food pairing with whiskey, because apparently it can be done. But another interesting about the Maker's Tour. So this is my shout out to everybody. If you are going to Dublin and you decide to go to the Jameson distillery, do not take the €20 tour. I mean, that's all well and good. Spend your money. Take the €60 Maker's Tour, which I think you'll probably get the best bang of your buck. Or you could take the Shaker's Tour, which is actually how both of them are 90 minutes. Shaker's Tour, they actually teach you how to make cocktails.
Ooh.
So you actually sit there making whiskey cocktails. And the Maker's Tour, you actually are learning about the whiskey, Irish, not just whiskey, but Irish whiskey. Not just Jameson, but Irish whiskey in general, how it's made, the difference in them. I also found out that the Jameson is part of it's called the Irish. It's kind of like the Irish Whiskey Alliance or something, and I might have it wrong, but they actually make other whiskeys other than Jameson, and Jameson also has the only maturation room in Dublin. The only one.
Really?
Yeah. There is no whiskey no whiskey has been matured in Dublin for almost 50 years. It's actually all moved south of Dublin towards it's called Middleton, and that's where so other whiskeys like Powers, Redbreasted, stuff like that, they're all the whiskey, Irish whiskey, is actually kept down there in that Middleton area and matured, except for Jameson, which they have. They have a maturation room up in Dublin. But back to the Maker's Tour. The Maker's Tour was very interesting in the fact that you got to see how you went through how the process of whiskey is being made, But then you also got to hear from, video wise, from several. You got to hear from the blenders, the distillers, and the barrel maker.
Oh,
the
the Coopers.
the Coopers.
Yes,
There we
the
go.
Coopers.
I was like, God dang it! I know this Cooper's Crow.
Yes.
So you got to hear from the Coopers and all that, and because Jameson also launched last year three whiskeys based off of those. And as you go through that, you get to taste or tasting several of the whiskeys, the Jameson original and all that. But when you walk in, it looks like when you walk into the place, it looks like a science experiment. So you have like beakers, flask, you have all these other things, and
Little Bunsen burners.
well, no burners, but you have little pipettes and water and all this stuff like that and then you have like 3 vials of whiskey, and they're all cask strength. As you have a sherry butt, you have a grain whiskey. I should have brought all 3 here, but then we would have been really, really drunk.
That's not a problem.
But but you have 3 whiskeys, and through this you actually get to blend your own whiskey. So you get to sit there and see the spicy harshness of the grain match with the more mellow sherry, and each one of these vials are like 67% each. And then so you're mixing them in your beakers and all that, and trying to blend it, adding water as you see fit to smooth it out. And once you're done with that, you get to bottle it. It's a small bottle. I mean, you could take it back on a flight with you, but it's a small bottle of whiskey that you get to blend,
and that's yours though.
And that's your blend.
That is
Yes.
specific to you. Now
that's the LT's blend.
Yeah. Now when you walk into the like that setup, like they have like desk or like little workstation set up for all the people, or
yeah. So it's like a long bench,
mm-hmm.
and then they have like several places, stations set up,
mm-hmm.
and you're behind the bar. The tour guide is they're taking it through you. They're going through okay, here's the history of the word whiskey. It means
mm-hmm.
water of life and things like that. And then they're going, okay, here's how the whiskey's made, and then this is how Jameson makes their whiskey, and you're following along with this, and you're doing like tastings during certain parts and stuff like that. Because you had so like for instance, you had the distiller's cask, where you have what the current distiller at Jameson, what he thinks his whiskey is at his level of the whiskey making process.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Cooper's Crew, which is where the Cooper's his whiskey, what he feels like in the part of the whiskey. So
kind of like benchmarks.
Yeah. So like when you look at the distiller's cask, it's a more lighter,
mm-hmm.
smoother whiskey. The Cooper's Crow is like a more darker, more flavorful because it's been maturated longer, because he wanted to get all that wood,
mm-hmm.
all those flavors extracted from the wood. And then you have the distiller's the blender's dog, which is the blender's dog. Well, the dog is actually the device used when they open up the casket and the dip out and the taste of whiskey.
The casket, huh? They got dead bodies in there?
The
cask. Yeah.
Yes,
I was like,
the casket.
ooh, Jameson just got a whole lot darker.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So when you open the cask, he drops his little device in there. It's called the dog, and he extracts whiskey from it, and then he tastes it, and he gets a profile, and then he brings out the ones he wants. He mixes the different barrels, and then that's his idea. The current blenders, his idea of what the whiskey should be at his stage of the whiskey making process. So you have all those 3 tastings as well, and then you have them paired with food, like little bites, like I said, the chocolate, the sherry, and stuff like that. Then you have, once you're done with that, then it's like, okay, now it's about blending. So you had the little vials, and you start, you're free for like 20 minutes to try to blend your own whiskey. And you said, do you want it smoother? Do you want it more spicy? Do you want it more, a more stronger punch? Do you want it to, what have you? And then once everyone's there, and then of course this is where the trouble can set in.
I want it strong and strong.
So the first time we did this was like we were like the second class to actually do this tour. But they had to pull back some of the alcohol because the first class they went through this tour, some of the people got so drunk they had to call an ambulance and take them because it is.
That sounds like some shit that should happen though.
Yeah, cause
like, hey guys, we're gonna make our own whiskey. Fucking sweet.
Yeah, because what happened with everybody, it was me and my brother and his friends, but then there were other people there. We had Canadians, some people from Maryland and stuff like that, and everyone was like trying each other's whiskeys. Like, all right, try my whiskey. All right, try my whiskey. Try my whiskey.
Yeah.
Oh, try this. So once you're done with that, you're pretty.
You're about 30 sips in.
Yeah.
Yeah. that's what that is. Just tasting.
And plus, you're doing your own as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to taste yours 4 or 5 times. Right?
Yeah,
Make sure you get yours right.
So once you're done with that, like I said, they actually give you a bottle. Has a little Jameson label on it, and you can write your name and the date that you blended and stuff like that. Seal it up. And then you go into the maturation room. So that's why I say you should take this tour over the regular tour. Is that you actually get to go inside the maturation room. No electronics or anything because they don't want anything to go boom.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've never been into a maturation room, you could just smell the goodness in the air. It's just, and so Jameson, like all other Irish whiskeys, they don't do their own barrels. They actually get barrels mostly from the United States and from Spain are their two biggest suppliers, and they get them several other places. And they'll use those barrels. So it was really interesting walking in there, and you'll see like a Maker's Mark barrel or a Jack Daniel's barrel or a sherry barrel from Spain, and you could tell the difference from the not only are they marked but the way the
way they're shaped.
The way they're shaped, and so you get there, and then we get to take a barrel. We open it up, drop the dog in there, and you pull it up, and the class, the tour, you get to sip straight from the cask.
Oh, that's so nice.
That's some strong stuff.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
Oh, some strong stuff.
But it's the significance of it, right?
Yes.
That's what, because you're not going to get an experience like that, like, unless you go there, unless you I don't want to say just take the tour because, you can know a guy and get you the backstage pass or whatever, but you're not going to get that from just going to your liquor store or just buying it and sitting on your couch.
Definitely not. And that was a great experience, and that let me understand Irish whiskey a lot more, and appreciate how much work goes into this. Because you buy bottles, you pull bottles off shelves, but when you actually understand the work and the love that goes into those things
and the precision.
Oh yeah,
because everything is so precise. Right. It has to meet that benchmark. It has to meet the standard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's incredible. So when we've taken other tours, they always talk about how everything is standard or how it's so precise on like a scientific level that it's incredible. Like, how can you create such large quantities of liquor or beer, and it's so precise and so consistent throughout the world.
Yeah, especially when you go to Jameson is a triple pot distilled whiskey. Most whiskeys are usually double distilled, but Jameson wants to go the extra mile and get a triple. And what that means is that they boil everything down, they extract all the alcohol, and it gets distilled once. And then they do that process again, distilled twice, and then they do it one more time, and then, but it's like you're losing some of your product during this process, but they have it down to a science so much that they're minimizing their loss, and that they're still able to make, gallons upon gallons upon gallons a year in whiskey.
Well, what's it called when the little bit of whiskey or bourbon that's that's left in the cask. Is that right? Like, so I think it's called the Angel's Share. Is that what they
Yeah.
call that?
So in the maturation room, like I said, when you walk in there, you could smell the whiskey, that alcohol that's coming out of the barrels, and you're just losing it from evaporation. And that's called the Angel Share, which is also cool in Jameson. So from old barrels, one of the things they have on the wall in the maturation room is angel wings made out of old barrels.
Oh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, so
That's really cool.
to make sure that the angels get their share. But it was a very, very interesting experience. Definitely recommend doing it. It doesn't have to be on St. Patty's Day, but
I imagine that was just absolutely crowded.
oh, we're about to get into that. But
well, even for the tours and all that stuff, I'm sure that's just hugely.
oh yeah, it was very
Hugely
huge. There was
crowded.
people from all, and that was cool. There were literally people from all over.
Yeah.
That was at the distillery, and we met along the way. But at the distillery, it was so cool to see people in there. And we actually went. We actually went to the Jameson the day after St. Patrick's Day, because that was after they had a big rugby match between England and Ireland, and Ireland spanked that tail. They were worried, like the Irish were worried that, like, oh man, they weren't sure if they were gonna win, they would have a chance and all that. Shortly into the match, all those fears went away.
Wow.
The
Parties
Irish,
in the streets and everything.
oh
huh?
my goodness, it was. So we were walking around with our Irish scarves and our Irish caps, and because we were told we were Black Irish, and we actually watched that game. We actually
You had to be told you were Black
we were
Irish.
told. We actually watched that game at the Guinness storehouse, which is going to lead us into our next
Our
drink.
next one, yes. By the way, quick side note: this Jameson is delicious. So for the Guinness Hop House 13 Lager, little bit from the Guinness website. Guinness Hop House 13 Lager. The aroma is a light and hoppy with floral and citrus notes. The flavor is flavorful lager, hoppy and citrusy on the nose. The palate is lively palate, crisp and refreshing. It is 5% ABV, and the appearance is dense head on a golden amber colored beer. The hops that they use are Galaxy, Topaz, and Mosaics, and it is not available in the U.S. Now, yes, that is the pop top. That is the pop top. Now, the story of Guinness Hop House 13 Lager. Sample Guinness Hop House 13, and you'll experience a lager made with so much more. More hops, more character, more taste. It's a lively sip with accents of apricot and peach. The flavor deepens into subtle malt with a medium body, combining our famous Guinness yeast with Irish-grown barley in a lager brewing process. Our brewers changed the game. I'll tell you what, we're about to find that out.
So yeah. So this is, and for those of you who are not, well, I actually think most people are familiar with Guinness.
If you're not, then what are you doing with your
yeah,
life?
I know.
Because
But-
I was recently turned on to Guinness because I was like, when I was growing up, I was like, no. First, when I was younger, it was like, oh, no, Bud Light, Budweiser, right? Because that's the domestics.
Yeah.
And then as I started learning more and more about beer, I saw Guinness, and I was like, oh, Guinness, that's like drinking motor oil. It's just so dark. And then now, like I went to Dublin and I did the tour and everything, but I fell in love with it. Like that's one of my top beers now, and I'm just like, how did I ever think this? Like, why did I ever think that? It's like my very stereotypical mindset of no, this is nasty. I don't want to eat that. You know, now that's gone. That's gone.
Well, I was always kind of a fan of Guinness myself. I did like stouts. I didn't drink them too often, but I do prefer lagers over stouts. And this one particular, as I actually had last year, when I went to the Guinness storehouse, and it is Guinness doesn't really do lagers. Now there is an American blonde, a Guinness blonde that they release in the United States for the American palate. But this, you'll see, this is different from that blonde, and it's a whole lot better. And this is actually fast becoming one of my favorite beers, even at 5%.
Wow.
So
let's give it a shot. Do we have another toast for this one, or are we just gonna use the
we'll,
same
we'll,
toast?
We'll use the same toast.
The same toast because Ireland.
Ireland. Right.
Now you got to get under the head, though. You got to get under the head.
I got it.
That is nice. That is really nice. Now, this is also the first beer we've had on the podcast. Yeah. Which I think it's very appropriate, really. Yeah, that is nice. It's so I like like pilsners, because it's lighter, it doesn't fill me up and stuff like that, and it still has like some taste to it. This is a light beer with plenty. It's not light, but it's a light colored beer with definitely some fruity taste, but it's not overwhelming. I hate those like super fruity beers. I'm like, this is full of sugar. Like, I don't want this. It's gonna give me a stomach ache. I'm gonna just not really enjoy this. But this is probably something I could drink for a while because it's kind of that middle of the road. It has the hints, but it doesn't have like it doesn't feel like I'm drinking an orange. No. or like some fruities like that.
No, it's just a nice, fresh, crisp lager, and the sad part is I bought a 16-pack of this to bring back.
That's a shame. That's not nearly enough.
Yeah. I bought a 16-pack because, as you said, this is a newer Guinness product, and it is not available in the United States and other places. So when I am in Ireland or close, I try to bring back as much as possible. And like I said, it's pretty recent. I think it's not even 2 years old. I think it's not even 2 years old because I think the first time they showed it, they brought it out was I want to say last year, 2017. It might have been they might have brought it out late 16, but I know when I went in 16 to the storehouse, they didn't have it. But when we went last year, they had it. So.
Yeah, I can't find anything on that.
So it's not an old beer. It's pretty new, but the thing I love about it is that it is like I can find myself just drinking this, not feeling full. It has a lot of flavor and it's a lighter beer, and it just tastes good with everything. I had this with a hell of a lot of oysters in Temple Bar, and a lot of people you go to eat your oysters and stout. I was like, nope, give me a hop house and some oysters. And they're like, oh, good choice.
Good choice. Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
But I bought 16 bottles, and my friends, some of which we were like, oh, I don't drink beer. I don't drink beer.
You're an idiot.
And
I don't trust you.
Yeah. Well, they put the beer in. We were in an Airbnb, and they put the beer in the refrigerator. And, we had deal like whatever we bought is in the refrigerator. We're sharing with everyone. And I forgot, thought, oh, yeah, I didn't think that they were going to go to the beer. And I heard the first top pop, heard some drink, and I'm like, oh, man, this beer is good. And the next thing you know, everyone was. So out of 16, this is the last one.
Oh, man.
This is the last one.
That sucks. I'm about to chug this then. No, I'm going to savor it. I'm not going to put it in my beer bong.
So at the Guinness, again, the other tour we took on is the Guinness Storehouse. And I'm going to tell you this one, honestly, you have to go to on St. Paddy's Day. I don't care how many times you've gone to the Guinness Storehouse before. If you've never gone on St. Paddy's, you haven't gone. It is a madhouse. It was so great. I have videos and everything. And granted, this is not the first time. I've been there in St. Paddy's Day before, but it was a madhouse. It was so much fun. And then the rugby game came on, and
then the crowd went wild.
Oh my goodness! It's like we were sitting there watching the rugby game. Now, mind you, this is a group of 6 rather large, rather robust, diesel-ass black men. You know what I'm saying? We were occupying in force.
Yeah, so just for the audience, because we don't have cameras, the entire time he was talking about the people he was with, he was doing a peck pop. All right? The titties was bouncing, I don't know if they do that by themselves or if it's
They do them all by
Okay,
themselves.
so
Man.
just
All
so
by
you
themselves.
kind of have have an idea what's going on.
Yeah, Terry Crews is my nickname, but
I'm just waiting for the Old Spice commercial with all the instruments.
But we came and a group of them, we're watching the rugby game, and I know something about rugby. I played a match or two, but I'm not a rugby. Generally, I'm not a rugby fan. I play because someone's like, "Hey, man, play rugby," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go play rugby." All right.
That really twisting your arm there, huh?
Yeah, you know me.
You get to hit people. I'm coming.
Okay,
I'm on my way.
I'm there. But so I'm watching it, and I'm trying to explain a little bit about rugby. I know help the other guys follow the match and whatnot. And when Ireland was just spanking the UK, spanking England, oh man, the place was going crazy, and a couple of guys came out to it. Like, I don't think we bought one round of beer. We bought
one round for
6 guys. We bought one. No, like we bought us a round. Like
Mhm.
the guys were like, "Hey, we'll buy." Did a round of beer for us. Every other beer after that, someone bought for us. Like, guys were showing up to our table and were like, "All right, here's your beer. You're not drinking. Here's your beer. Here's your beer. Here's your beer. Come on." And we're like, "Man," they're like, "Hey." One guy was like, "Hey, you're Irish today.
Here's your beer."
Here's your." He was like, "Yeah, here's your beer. You're Irish today." And so Ireland won. It was just freaking. I mean, we went to Temple Bar afterwards, and the place was packed. People were they were all over the streets. It was just a great time. And funny enough, there was there's two stereotypes the Irish are known for: drinking and fighting. We saw plenty of drinking, not a lot of fighting. The only fight we saw, honestly, were two brothers get into it. Like, when I say two brothers, two little brothers.
It was a little kid fight.
It was a little
thing.
kid fight. That was like the
Yeah.
only fight we saw all weekend. And I was like, I had to point it out. I said, "Look, this is a something we have to appreciate. We have a place where there's a lot of alcohol being consumed, a lot. There is a lot of people. Like, it was hard to move that night, Saturday night. It was very hard to move in Temple Bar, and there was no fights. Everyone was Irish. Everyone was having a good time. It was great." So
And that's actually incredible because I've been to Dublin and it was crowded, like on an average weekend. I think sometime I think I went in the fall sometime, but it wasn't a holiday like that. It wasn't anything that would cause droves and droves of tourists to go to Dublin, and it was still crowded.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can have that much alcohol going on, especially in the Temple Bar area, because that's hugely tourist, and they have fantastic bars there.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that much alcohol and that much people, you expect something bad to happen. But when it doesn't, you're just like, oh, maybe humanity's not all fucked up.
Well, and to say the same thing, like, we were in there, and I didn't wear any new. I had actually brought some new shoes. To wear,
shoes,
nice
new shoes.
I wanted to look clean, but then I realized, I remembered. I was like, no, I remember last year. It's gonna be, La Johnson. I'm like, I'm not gonna wear my new shoes. So I tried to tell the others, don't wear your good clean shoes. I know you want to go out looking clean, but
now nobody looks down.
Yeah, no one looks down. And we were walking through, and someone stepped on my shoes, stepped on my foot, backing up, innocent enough. And the guy turned around, sloshed beer and everything, and he's like, "Oh, I am so sorry." And he goes, and he looks me up and down, and he goes, "Where's your beer?"
I get you beer. Hold on.
He's like, it was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, where's your beer?"
I like how that's the most offensive thing.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not drinking?
He's like, "Oh."
Yet. You're not drinking yet.
I was like, I'm trying to get to the bar. He goes, "Well, here, take this. I'll be back."
And you made a friend for the night.
Oh yeah, we made a lot of friends, and that's one thing I do think the Irish people were really funny. They're very funny. They're very open. They were easy to communicate with. We actually made I think possibly long-term friends. There's several Irish people we met that definitely will hook up again next time we're in Ireland. But I want to relay this story because this was probably one of the greatest nights we had while we were out. So we go to this Irish pub, little old Irish all the way Irish pub, and it is everything you wanted out of an Irish bar. It is small, quaint little bar, and you have the old man, his generations of sons, all grown, and he's up there, he's drunk, and he's holding court in the bar. And we walk in, we get drinks, we're sitting in, and it's going on, and you know, and it's just this one guy, he's up there, he's talking about life and, you know, everything, like these big poetic things, and you know, you could tell this is just the mind of a rambling drunk man, and his sons are there. One of his sons was a bartender as well. Sort of his atmosphere. And the most amazing thing, now everywhere we went, people were always helpful. They were always engaging. You know, they were like, "Hey, you know, welcome to Ireland. You know, glad that you're here to share this with us."
I'll say that they were extremely hospitality oriented. It was fantastic. Like just off the street. Yeah. They'll tell you the best places to go and everything. Yeah. It was amazing.
Well, that's how we found this bar, because where we were staying in our Airbnb, and we're like, "Hey, where are we going to go? You know, we'll go to Timbuktu." He goes, "Ah, man, go to here, go here. Trust me, you'll have the time of your life." And
I always take those recommendations.
Yeah,
always.
And
that's how you find the gems.
Yes, definitely. But this is what happened soon after we sat down. Now, granted, we are not as a bad thing. This is Ireland, by the way, but we were the only bit of color in the bar, the only bit of color. So, but they didn't. It wasn't no hostile thing or anything. And my friends were worried a little bit because they're like, "All right, there's no other black people," but I'm like, I don't think anyone's gonna mess with us. We're 6 rather large black dudes.
No, they'll fuck with you. Like your friends, like they've known you since elementary.
Let me get to that real quick.
Oh, okay.
See? The man holding court comes up to us when he gets a glass. He cheers us all, and he's like, "I want to tell you lads something," and we're like, "Okay." We've been listening to him all night. He goes, "I am the original nigga. I was a nigga before the sun even came up to turn my skin black." And
that shit is hilarious.
And we were all sitting there like, what the fuck? Like, we're looking, we didn't know what to do. He goes, "Look, I know how hard it is out there for us." He said, we go down, and there's always someone trying to oppress us and keep us down. I said, "But that's the spirit. That's what being a nigga is all about. You keep going. You don't let them keep you down." He said, "Whatever it comes from, you have to overcome." He said, "So raise your glasses to the original nigga." We're like, the fuck is
that is one hell of an icebreaker, man. Like, that's the kind of dude you sit and talk on the porch about, like, "Yo, I could tell this dude anything. Like, nothing's going to surprise him." And, like, you can't reach too much past that mark. It's fantastic.
So
that's a ballsy move, man.
It was a ballsy move.
That's fantastic.
It was a ballsy, but it paid off for him.
Yeah.
It paid off because, so his son, or one of his sons, comes over, and he was just like, "Hey, you know, my dad is drinking." He said, "But he loves you guys." He's like, he loves you guys. He was so happy. He's like, he came up to me. He's like, I have to talk to these guys. These are so great. They come to my country. And then while he's trying to talk to us, his dad is like, "Hey, come here, you cunts, come here."
See, everybody's a cunt. I love it.
Yeah. He's like, "Come here." He had brought us a round of whiskey, and he was like, and we just sat there all night. And then the greatest thing was we got onto a discussion about tits. And
that is a lovely discussion.
It was a lovely discussion.
There's so many different kinds.
And it was funny. So we were with, we had met some other, the people that recommended the bar. They showed up with us too. They're Irish, 2 Irish girls and Irish dude. And it was so funny because they're like, "Ah, so you guys have been welcomed, I see." We were like, yeah. We met the original name.
Yeah. So I have a question about that, right? So how did that make you feel? Like, did you feel like what the hell is this guy doing, or what? Like, when he said it, because obviously that's an icebreaker, and that's like, it for us that's a ballsy move, but for him it was like, nah, it doesn't really hold any significance for him. How did you feel, and how did your friends feel when that happened? Was it just kind of like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, this is cool, or like,
Well,
was it, I mean,
first thing it was shock. Like,
yeah,
it was just like, okay, and where is he? Where is he going with this? But then when he kept going on and he kept talking, we're like, this dude right here.
Yeah,
This
like,
is like, okay.
like you weren't offended or anything like that.
No,
I
no,
mean,
no,
because
no.
people get sensitive skin and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
no. This is definitely a bar that you don't go to. You do not go to this bar if you are easily offended.
I feel like we should go.
We should most definitely go, because I'm telling you right now, they talked about, when I say they held court, and everybody was on. They talked about everything. So, for instance, we talked about the subject of tits came up.
Okay.
One of the girls that came, that's with us, and I'm so sorry if you're listening to this, love. There's nothing bad about you. She is not well into that department.
She's not well endowed.
She's not well
in the
endowed.
upper region.
Yes, and she was made an example. She was actually made Exhibit A, and she took it with stride. It was great.
Oh, she was Irish. She was like local.
Oh yeah.
Oh, she knew it was coming. She was like, "This is not the first time he's talked about my tits."
Yeah, and I had a feeling, because the way everyone joined in on this discussion about tits, it was like, oh, so this is a topic that's been going around in this bar for a long time, and it wasn't, just for everyone to know, it was probably the ratio in that bar. We threw off the ratio, but it was close to 50-50.
Well, that's one thing. Bars, especially in Ireland, is not like a male dominated thing.
Oh, definitely.
And not only that, but just the amount of or the kind of conversations you can have. Like, there's really no limit. Like, people are not easily offended in Ireland.
No.
So, like, oh, you're talking about my tits? Yeah, I got tits. What do you want to know about them? Like, it's.
But we did. We talked about everything. So even said guy was like, he talked about the American police shooting black people. Like, he went. I mean, seriously, he talked about Black Lives Matter. He talked about,
wow,
and everything. And he was yeah. He's like, I know you can't do it, but if a cop come, I tell the cop, fuck off, you cunt, fuck off. And I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a good course of action.
Well, I feel like sometimes when they do that, I feel like you're just pandering at this point. Like, you're just hearing what you want to say.
I don't think this dude was pandering to anything.
Okay.
Because I think this dude was like, I think this is generally him.
You think that he's just like talking shit then, or you think he's like he would legitimately do that?
No, I think he would legitimately do that kind of thing. What do they say? Usually,
okay. Irishman shot.
What do they say? That was that saying? Go, a drunk mouth speaks a sober mind.
Drunk mouth speaks a sober mind.
Yeah. Well, this man was well drunk, and he was pretty much saying whatever he felt like. Like, there was no like, oh, Dad, you shouldn't say that. It was more like, there goes Dad again.
Oh shit.
Sort of thing. But it was good because it was like he had his sons. It was cool because it's all you see the generation of boys he grew up, he raised, and everyone there, and everyone's having a good time. I mean, it was a very cozy atmosphere, and everyone. I mean, no subject was taboo. Everyone was involved. Everyone was having a great time. There was no animosity, and I was like, damn. And
that's the kind of shit like I really want to get involved in. Like, to be able to have an open discussion with people about controversial subjects or like tits or some shit.
Yeah.
I mean, like, nobody's going to get offended. Like, you can have an actual conversation about some tits.
Yeah, well, like, so we talked about guns too, and like, two of the girls, they're anti-gun. They don't like guns at all. I'm very pro-gun.
Me too.
And we had a great discussion. We did not agree, but we were both cunts. We were like, yeah, fucking you stupid cunt. You listen.
And that's what she called you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what she called me. I actually got coaxed into using the C word because I was using bitch like an American.
Oh yeah, no.
And
But that's bad. You shouldn't use that.
you know,
Cunt is everybody can be a cunt.
everyone can be a bitch too.
Well, yeah, that's true, but it has different connotations whether it's
Well-
male or female.
Well, I was told to use cunt.
Yeah, and you damn well should.
And I did use cunt.
It's
so,
not used properly by Americans.
And so when in Rome, I was like, I was like, this is some bitch ass shit, and she's like, no.
You should use cunt.
You basically that's how it went. He was like, you should use cunt, and I was like, really? And so that was a great time.
But that's the thing is like for Americans using that word, it's like it's so far off the spectrum where like nobody says that. Like you have to be really mad or like talk about something very specific to use that, and then like you go over to UK or Ireland or in that area, and it's thrown around like handy, man. It's like
it's a term of endearment.
It almost is. I love you, cunts. Like okay, cool, all right. I don't know how I should feel about that, but
we left. We actually went up to a club the night before, a regular nightclub. We had a good time. We did not have a bad night in Dublin at all. But that night was probably the best, and that's the one that everyone's still they're texting each other back and like, yeah, the words from the original nigga, we're still calling each other cunts.
I hope you guys took a picture and like just make them into a meme.
Oh, we should. Oh my God, we should. But we plan on going back to that bar just to see.
I definitely want to tag along for that.
Yeah, and then as I said, we exchanged numbers. Like I said, we made a couple of friends that we'll definitely have for a while. So it was a great trip, really good trip.
Oh man, can you top that story? I don't know.
No, I can't because the follow-on trip
it was work.
It was work.
And it was boring, but it was awesome at the same time.
It was. It
was. So you went from So over the weekend, right? You went to Dublin, and then you stayed there for what 3-4 nights or 3-4 days?
Yeah, we were there,
and then you came back and then drove to.
Actually, I didn't even come back here. I went straight from Frankfurt, got into Frankfurt, got in my car, and my car was at my brother's house. Got in my car and then drove to The Hague.
Straight to The Hague.
Yeah.
Now, for people that don't know about The Hague, it's interesting because that's the only place I know that has The Hague as the city. Like it is the something. Yeah.
It's The Hague. It's not even Hague. It's The Hague.
Yeah. So it is in the Netherlands. I believe it's the capital of the Netherlands, right?
I don't know if it could be. I'm not sure.
Okay, but it's about 30 minutes or so away from Amsterdam.
Yes.
And then about 30 minutes or so away from Rotterdam.
So Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague, Den Hague is they're like I'm trying to think of something like a tri-state area.
It's like the DFW Metroplex kind of thing. Like it's just a huge cities,
huge cities
in
there,
and just all kind of interconnected almost. Yeah. So I have not been to The Hague, but I've been to Amsterdam a few times, and I absolutely love it. So I could imagine how The Hague is. It's probably a little bit more relaxed than Amsterdam
much more relaxed. Is not. So I was actually, I would say Amsterdam is more touristy than The Hague, but The Hague is still a touristy spot because it's right on the beach, and I noticed this too. Maybe because with my experience with Amsterdam is usually because it's partying, with the New Year's and, there's always something going on. Not saying that Amsterdam is like a total, messy place. It's still relatively clean, but
it's a big city.
It's a big city, but The Hague was clean. Like that was something that I really noticed. I was like, it is clean. I was in what would be considered. I didn't stay there, but I got there and I walked the area to get a feel of where I'm at. That's usually what I do when I go to some place for the first time.
A little bit of recon.
Yeah, do a little recon. I go out and walk and see what's going on and what's nearby and blah blah blah. And I noticed how clean it was. And when I mean clean, so I actually went to what probably would consider, some people would consider a lower income or a ghetto or whatever type area. And it was very, very clean. Very, very, like, there was almost no trash on the ground. It was just, I was like amazed. I'm like, wow, this is clean. Like, I went from like the tourist spot, really touristy spot by the beach, went more into the inner city areas because I wanted to see what it was like. And I also wanted to see more people that looked like me.
That's understandable.
Yeah. And it was really, really, really clean. I was like, wow. I was like, this is, I've been to clean cities, and this is one of those clean cities. So, but it was really nice there. Like I said, we were on the beach, so I spent a lot of time there.
Poor you.
Poor me.
That sounds horrible.
All I wanted to do was to stay in the office and work. And they were like,
I'm gonna call bullshit.
What are you talking about? I totally was like, I totally went there.
Guys, I really need to get this done.
Look, guys, we have this work to be done, and and even after we're done with this work, we should just stay here anyway, just so that we're good little workers.
Yeah, and so I would make a good impression.
And they were like, no, we're gonna go eat oysters, and you're coming with. So
I hate it when they pull you out to go do fun shit.
I know.
I hate it.
I so hate it. So whereas Dublin was the drinking trip, the Hague was my eating trip.
Oh, nice.
So I ate a lot.
So what did you have? You had, you said oysters?
So oysters, definitely had lots and lots of oysters. One of the big cuisines that they're known for in the Netherlands, not just the Hague, but in the Netherlands in general, is soused, what they call soused herring. Basically, it's raw herring, sometimes lightly pickled, or sometimes smoked, very lightly smoked. But in this case, it was basically raw herring. They stripped it down, pull out the bones, fillet it as best as possible, give you onions, and you eat it like that. And it's really oily. It's very oily, but it's very satisfying.
So the fish herring is really oily, but
yeah.
Do they add any additional oil, or is it just
no?
Just
it's
the
oily
fish meat and the onions and stuff?
And the onions, and that's it.
Wow.
And you have the onions in there, and the proper way to eat this, and I got pictures, is you take it by the tail, you hold it up so it's dangling upside down, and you drop it into your mouth, you bite it, and then chew and repeat as necessary, depending on how the size of the fish.
Wow. That reminds me of like the cats from the Disney movies where they like have the fish and they hang it upside their head.
Yeah.
And then they put it in their mouth and then they strip it out and it's like the skeleton.
Just the bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, like that's what that reminds me of.
It's very similar to that, except that they remove all the bones except for the ones towards the tail.
Okay.
Now, I ate these herrings like they were going out of style. I did my best to put a dent in the herring population.
You tasty motherfuckers gonna die.
You guys are gonna die. Matter of fact, there is a place there in the Hague called the Herring House. I highly recommend it to go there to do their herring. And I mean, they actually prepare it right for you. When I drove in, I got in kind of late, and I went to the Herring House looking for something to eat before I just hit the hotel and crashed. And I was like, yeah, I got to get some herrings. I found the Herring House. It was not far from my hotel. And I was like, it was getting close to close, but I came in and the guy was like, we don't have any hot fish. We're closing. I go, no, I am here for herring. And I just saw his eyes light up like, yes, he's here for the herring. He is here for the herring. And he came in, he's like, how many do you want? I was like, just give me 3. He's like, he wants 3.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Do you want onions with that? And I was like, yes.
little bit of growling in your voice.
Yeah. So he came. He brought out the fish. He's cleaning them right there, right in front of you. Putting on the put on a little paper, and we had him prepared, the herring, and he's like, you know how to eat these, and I'm like, you mean like this? He's like, he knows.
He knows.
He knows.
He has been trapped.
Yeah, so I went by the herring house every day at least once to get something to eat. So two things I ate a lot was herrings, one, and then there's this seafood salad which it has a lot of smoked. So they have like smoked salmon, smoked different types of smoked fish, shrimps, things like that in this little salad and pickles and stuff like that. And you find that like almost everywhere. That's if there's a seafood restaurant or a seafood stall, you see this type of salad that's there. So I used to get a lot, like have sliced eggs and stuff like that with it. And I'd eat that quite a bit. And I went to so I did try herring at another place on the boardwalk, and I had to fight birds.
Oh yeah, like the seagulls circling around.
Yeah, I had to fight birds, and I thought it was the funniest thing is when I went because I went to this one restaurant stall, and it had voted the best herring in the Netherlands, and I'm like, that's a bold claim.
Yeah, that's a bold move, Cotton.
Yeah.
Let's see if it pays off.
So I go up there, and I'm like, all right, let me get two.
Yeah.
So they prepared it. All right, and there's two women. They prepared it, and as I was getting ready, they're putting the onions and all that, and they go, all right, enjoy, but beware the birds.
They put that as like a footnote. Beware the birds.
Beware the birds. And then I was like, what, really? I was like, it was like that?
I mean, I'd like to see this. LT versus the birds.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it was because I went outside. So this is what I did. I went outside, and one of my shoelaces were loose. So I sat my herring on the little, standing table, and I went to go bend over to tie my shoes, and birds descended upon me. It was like out of Alfred Hitchcock. Birds were coming
just
down.
The whole flock.
So I jump up, I snatch my herring, and I'm like, get away. And I swear to God, there was this bird that would like sit there with his wings out, was like, yo, come at me.
Yeah, I love those birds because I just want to pop him in the face.
Because that bird was like,
I know like the PETA's gonna like want to hate me after this, but no, little bird's not gonna intimidate me with a little bitty wingspan.
And this freaking bird was like sitting there. He's walking behind me like, you gonna drop something. You're gonna drop something.
If I drop it, it's yours. But
he was like, he was sitting there looking like, and I tried scaring him away and everything, and he was just like, he'd walk back, and as soon as I turn around, he'd be like, I'm back.
Man, see, those things are experienced though.
Hey,
like they know.
He had mind control over me.
You gonna drop something, and you drop something, huh?
I actually did.
You're gonna drop something. You're gonna drop something. You're gonna. Yeah, there he goes.
There he goes. That's mine now. No, it's mine now.
Don't try to pick it up. You know you ain't gonna eat it.
It was. But that was it. It was so funny when she said that. Like the look at her, because I was like, oh man, because she saw how excited I was to get the herring, because I wanted to test it out. Now, granted, the herring was good. The herring was actually really good, but I still think Herring House was better. So, just saying, my personal verdict on that.
The vote was not in accordance with your sign.
Yeah,
it was not.
It wasn't. But so I did a lot of herring. Then a couple of friends, they took me out, and we ate mostly seafood. I gotta say, I ate lobster. I ate a hell of a lot of shrimps.
So So besides eating, did you see anything in the Hague, or did you go and do anything? Like,
I went to the ICC because the ICC won't let me be.
Let me be me. So let
just
Eminem don't sue me. Eminem don't sue me.
All for a little war criminality. But
so it's the International Criminal Court. Is that what it is? Okay.
And it was actually literally like right very close to where we were working at, and I was like, oh my God, there's an ICC, and I was like, you hear about it, and I thought it was funny because while I was driving up to the Hague, it was a 5-hour drive. It was a 5-hour drive.
But it's not a bad drive. I've done
no,
drives.
You say that until you driven through Rotterdam.
Oh yeah, okay, that would change it if you have to go through like a big city.
Yeah, Rotterdam. I actually wanted to lay waste to everybody because I was about 45K out,
right?
And I've been driving all day, and I'm tired. I had a plane ride back in. Got in. I've been driving all day, and I'm like 45K. That's nothing. I could just
Like
blow
I
through
can
this.
make that in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, an hour and a half later,
Man, that's rough.
because the traffic was so bad. So when I got there, and I knew something was wrong, because I was like, oh, so they're asking me, how was your drive through there? And I was like, oh, it was great until I went through until I got to Rotterdam. And they're like,
Oh.
ooh. He was like, yeah, that was your mistake. You should not have come through
You should have
Rotterdam.
went the other way. You should have said, "Forget you, GPS. I know where I'm going." Yeah. So but generally, when we went up to Amsterdam before, the ride was actually pretty pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And I just say that because it's like open highway almost the entire time.
Yes.
Autobahn or whatnot. So it's like you're cruising at a nice speed, and then you get into the Netherlands, and there's a little bit more speed restrictions. But it's like nice roads. You can kind of relax and just coast a little bit. It's not.
Well, I had cruise control on for the most part until I got to Rotterdam.
Oh yeah.
Once I got to Rotterdam, it was just like,
Bumper to bumper traffic and just man.
I was just like,
rough.
move.
Ludacris said something about this kind of situation.
I think it was move, cunts, get out the way.
Not sure. I think that's the Irish translation.
Move it, get out the way.
Yeah.
But no, but so at the Hague there was I went to the ICC, and I thought it was funny because I was listening to an audiobook on my drive, and when the audiobook one of the characters in the book was a lawyer from the ICC that was going to Darfur to document war crimes in this novel. So I was like, oh yeah, listening, she was one of the characters in this, and I'm like, well, here I'm at the ICC. And I also remember, there was a TV show that came on a couple of years ago called Crossing Borders.
Crossing Lines, wasn't it?
Or Crossing Lines.
Crossing
Lines.
I saw that. It was really good, I thought.
Yeah, and it was about a lot of people, they work for the ICC.
Yeah, it was like, what? Because I was thinking about that when I thought about The Hague, because that's where they have their headquarters, right? Mm-hmm. So what that show is about is essentially, the best of the best of these police forces from different countries, and of law enforcement from these different countries, and then they make up this specialty team that they go and track international criminals.
Yep.
And I thought it was pretty good because, especially, we live out here, so you kind of get to see this kind of often, so it doesn't seem so foreign. But if you were to watch that from the States, I imagine it being like, what are these guys doing? Like, they were just in Belgium, and now they're in Netherlands. Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah.
And they're really close to each other.
Well, the other
and
people, some of the other people I work with, like, that I was working with that last week, they were like, oh, they're like, yeah, so how long was your drive? I was like, it was like 5 hours. And they were like, yeah, I was like, mine was less than 2. And I'm like, shut the fucking
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, they were coming from Belgium. They're like, oh, it was less than 2. I'm like,
and we went through Rotterdam. It wasn't bad. We practically just hopped over the line.
What are you talking about? Rotterdam was eating? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. But
matter of fact, I actually stopped in Rotterdam on the way back, and I was stopping at a gas station and get some coffee and stuff. And then they're like, and I was like, yeah, I drove up here last time. And they're like, oh, why?
Don't stop. Just keep going. It's like Detroit. Don't do it.
just keep. He's like, don't drive through. It was like, because it was kind of getting late in the evening. They're in rush hour, and it was just, oh my god, I was so miserable. I was just like, I just want to get.
I mean, that's like with every other big city though, too, right?
Yeah.
So you went to Dublin for St. Paddy's Day, which we didn't even talk what St. Paddy's Day was about, but I think all of us know it's just about being Irish, wearing green, and getting drunk.
It's cultural appropriation.
Is that a problem here? I don't think it is.
No one gives a fuck.
That's cultural appropriation. You shouldn't do that. It's
no
like, that's what makes America great again, okay? The melting pot of all these cultures.
They're going to be like, you Trump supporters. Like, shut up.
No.
Shut your fucking face.
Let's all just be stupid. Oh, NSYNC. Like Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
So, so you went to Dublin for St. Patrick's, had a great time drinking. You learned the new meaning of cunt. Yeah. Had a fantastic discussion about tits. Met the first original
nigga.
And then you went to The Hague. And The Hague, you did oysters on a half shell.
Yep.
And you did herring, eating it like an alley cat.
Pretty much.
Got stuck in Rotterdam and hated life for a little bit.
Yeah.
And man, that actually sounds like a pretty dope trip. That was about what, week and a half?
About a week.
About a week.
Yeah, it was Friday to Friday.
No, it's
Friday to Friday.
Yeah, you can't really beat a week like that, right?
No, that was actually a great week.
Yeah,
but you know the worst part about this whole thing.
Rotterdam.
Well, no. The worst part about this whole thing is next month I got to do it again.
Oh man, that's a rough life, man. That's a rough life.
I got to do it again.
Yeah.
What I mean, what am I gonna do?
So spoiled.
I know, right?
I'm telling you. Oh man. Well, I think that's kind of wrapping it up. This has actually been a. So this is the thing. I don't know if this was one long bartender weekly, or if this kind of merged into the Bacchanalian Peregrine segment that we were planning. But we had some great drinks. We had the Jameson, which was fantastic. I want to pour more, but I kind of got shit to do today, and I'm really tempted to not do that shit today. But then we had the Guinness, the Hop House 13, and that was like that was really smooth. That's something I could probably drink like all day, and I really enjoyed that. Like I enjoyed that more than I thought I would, to be honest with you.
So now I'm gonna have to either have to go back to Dublin and get some more, or
find
a place. I know, or find where we can order it online.
Well, it's not sold in the U.S., so hopefully we can find it somewhere out here.
Yeah, we probably find it here.
I'm sure, yeah. But anyway, hey, thanks you guys for joining us today. And if you have any questions or any comments, leave them down below, and we'll see you later.
See you next time. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Dose of Vince Gentlemen podcast. We want to hear what you got to say, so leave us a comment below and hit that like button. Also, subscribe so you can get your future DOG updates.